25th of 2025. It is 17:05 p.m. My name is Corey Box. I will be the chair for tonight's meeting. And for the first time, and hopefully not the last time, we welcome Katie Butterfield. If you could please verify our attendance.
Yes. Murray?
Here.
OJ? Oh. Montgomery?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Morris?
Here.
Blackburn?
Here.
Chairbox.
Here, item number 1 is our consent agenda. Anyone have anything they want to talk about in the consent agenda? Or if not, we can approve with a motion for item 1.
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Murray?
Yes.
OJ? Montgomery?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Blackburn?
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, ma'am. Item 2 we will pull. Moving on to item 3. Resolution 93, a supplemental appropriation for $400,000 from fund balance to account 909235392, known as the Jenks Aquarium Authority Capital Improvements Building and Improvements Fund for the interior construction of the large animal holding facility. We are on page 83. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone. This is a resolution to approve the budget for the interior work that Kenny and his team is going to be doing for the large animal holding facility. This is also in the amount of $400,000 related to work for this fiscal year. The total was around 1.3, and we're going to budget the rest of that for next fiscal year when the work is done.
All right.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the authority? Light it up.
It's more of a question for Kenny. I mean, can you give us a little bit more flavor of what the 400,000 includes and the work that you're looking at accomplishing this year?
I should have had this already, but this is the budget for year 1. For the 400,000. I will rattle it off.
I mean, just give us kind of a general sense.
You bet.
It doesn't need to be all the specifics. Just kind of a general sense of.
So this will be phase 1, and this will take us through a big part of the year. The first thing we're going to do is the waterproofing of the main concrete tank, the shark tank. So that's the big 100,000 gallon tank, as well as the saltwater mixing vault that's outside, concrete vault. That will take care of that part of it. It's a big project to do the waterproofing. Also the acrylic window panels for that exhibit. And then we're going to be doing the filtration, all the filtration for the water makeup area. So that's what handles all the salt water and fresh water that sends water to all the tanks. So that's basically look at it as infrastructure. And then as well as part of the sand filtration and deaeration part of the shark exhibit or shark holding tanks filtration. So those pieces are large pieces that really need to go in before the other fiberglass tanks go in. So that's the majority, as well as, let's see, we have a bunch of miscellaneous things, but those are the biggies that it's going to take care of, and all the plumbing and stuff associated with that. So, yeah. You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Anyone else? All right. If there's no other questions, and I have none, we can entertain a movement on item 3.
Make a motion to approve item 3, resolution 93.
Second.
All right, thank you both. We have a proper motion and second on item 3, resolution 93. Thank you, Mr. Sims. Let's vote, please.
Murray?
Yes.
OJ? Montgomery?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes?
Morris?
Yes.
Blackburn?
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 4 is a possible recommendation to the Jenks City Council related to proposed Unified Development Ordinance updates pertaining to place of assembly uses on RTC zoned land. We are on page 85. Is this an open discussion, Keith, or is this?
Well, it's me too. I'm the one
Mr.
that
Montgomery,
added that.
Please
Okay.
I'm kidding with you. No,
Okay.
just joking.
Well, thanks, Chairman Box. Let me give you first a little bit of background. Those on the city council know all these issues well, but the rest don't. Later tonight, the city council is going to consider possibly approving changes to the Jenks UDO. That's the Unified Development Ordinance, which really determines what you can use the land for. And what activities can go on the land. And that's, I think, number 8 on the council's agenda tonight. And what I'm suggesting is the JAA make a recommendation to council that would exclude the aquarium campus from the proposed change that allows inclusion of place of assembly in what we call the riverfront tourist commercial zoning area. And what that area is, that includes us. It includes Riverwalk development, and then it includes all that stuff to the south of the Creek Expressway. It's that whole area. And so place of assembly, I did look up the definition because I know Marseille wanted me to know what it was. But that means and I'll read you this so you know. It means a building or outdoor area together with its accessory buildings and uses wherein individuals or groups of people gather for an attraction or service such as, but not limited to, community centers, fraternal and civic organizations, lodges, libraries, museums, municipal buildings, auditoriums, or religious institutions. Now, I know if we have more specific questions, Marseille's here and can answer those. It's not an issue for us at the aquarium now because we're grandfathered anyway, but we also kind of fall under a little different category because, we're more of a special event kind of thing. As all of us here know, we've got a long history of parties trying to access our existing infrastructure. And we have worked actively with a lot of them around those issues. And a good example is that shared parking agreement we came to with High Five. And I think generally we're all supportive of developing the campus. My concern is that this proposed UDO change could be a backdoor pathway for basically our parking to get accessed by a party without reaching an agreement with us. And by us, I mean the JAA, the OAF, and the city. It's not an issue with the current staff or the current council because I know they will enforce the rules. And so that would include if somebody did something that they wanted to change that use, they'd have to go back to the Planning Commission and the council for approval. My concern is in the future, some staff or council might interpret those rules differently. I think we've had some evidence in the past of things of that nature. And that could negatively impact our ability, and again, by our, I mean the JAA and the owners of that land. It could impact our ability to control our own destiny on the campus. I did attend the Planning Commission, and I raised that issue as an OAF member, not as JAA. And the main point that came out of the discussion with the Planning Commission was that the other areas of the RTC, both north and south, they may want that ability for place of assembly. I totally get that point. Thus, the Planning Commission did pass with conditions approval, and those conditions were about it being on a second floor and so forth. There were some other things around that to allow them to access that right of assembly. So what I would propose here is the JAA make a recommendation to the City Council to exclude the aquarium campus from the addition of that place of assembly, but allow it in the rest of the RTC. So.
So you are not, is it safe to say that you are not in harmony with item number 1 of the Planning Commission's recommendation where use of assembly only allowed in RTC with PUD above the ground floor? So are you not, you do?
Well, what I'm saying is that's fine, and allow it in the north and the south. areas of the RTC, but exclude the aquarium campus and just leave the aquarium campus where it was in terms of the approval, the UDO issues. Again, I don't want to open up a back door that means that, parties don't have to come talk to us and we don't have to negotiate things. And, I have no fear of the current planning commission, council, and staff and enforcement. They wouldn't allow that. But I can't guarantee that's true 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. And making that change basically allows that possibility.
Could I ask Keith? So it's not necessarily absolutely not. It's, can we please have a leave it out of this action so that we can have a conversation about it? It's not like a place of assembly is totally off the table.
It'd have to be a negotiated thing. And the problem is if you change the land use, it just comes from a negotiation to somebody walking up and goes, see, I've got the rights under your UDO. And then as a ownership group with the JAA, the city, and the OAF, I think you have basically given up one of your tools that you have to ensure that the development of that area goes in a manner that's supportive of the aquarium, supportive of the city, and someone can't just come to us and say, well, no, I've got the right. And, I have no problem with, again, no problem with the current council, the current staff, or anything like that. I know you would enforce the rules. But, without going through chapter and verse, there have been times where that hasn't happened. And I don't think we should be supportive of that change. And in fact, I think we should recommend to the council to basically do that one carve out. And, if the other areas want it, that's great. Let them have it. And maybe that works out great for them. So that was my recommendation.
What do we need to do to recommend
To the
it?
JAA.
Just to make a motion to recommend it? And then they vote on it in the other board?
I mean, I'd be happy to show up at council tonight, and if we do vote to approve that, to, basically explain that to the council also. I mean, again, we have no legal force here on the UDO. Yeah, but it does, the change they are proposing has the potential to affect us.
Well, what would the recommendation be if you're going to change the language? The entire,
Yes.
Is there any middle ground other than the entire campus?
I don't know how you do that,
Yeah.
because if you say the entire campus except for this piece or except for that piece, then it opens up that same issue again. And again, the only thing I'm thinking of is, as the aquarium campus, we have a limited amount of land. And
Yeah.
it's one of the most valuable assets we have. And the way the UDO is written today, we have more control over what happens there. And I just don't want to open a door, even though it's a potentially low probability thing, but I don't want to open the door to giving up something that may really affect us tremendously. Because, as some of the discussions we've had about some of the possible uses that people have proposed, ones that could potentially use significant amounts of our parking, then becomes a financial issue for us.
So,
And if we don't have a say in that, shame on us for not protecting that.
so how would this work, Chris or Teresa? So we all say yes, and what happens later on? We have a conversation about it? Or, how do we execute this into a follow-up action? Is there a ringing in the room?
What is that?
Yeah.
I think you could just do it as some kind of a footnote on your table to basically, say the aquarium campus is excluded from this, and it will be under whatever the original one was before the change was proposed. I don't remember how that looks, But that's a Marseille question.
Question, with there's other pending developments in that area, and my question would be, would some of those other proposed developments be classified within the aquarium campus if we make that change? That's a question for our planner.
And
Well, I don't know about the ones you're considering, but basically the aquarium campus is that platted land, and it's a, what's the term again? I keep
specific
forgetting
use
what-
chart,
Specific use permit. And it very much outlines what the aquarium campus is.
and I guess from my perspective, if there's a concern from the JAA regarding this, I don't know that all of the details have to be hashed out at this meeting. It can be, the recommendation is please leave that out.
Yeah, and
And even when it comes to city council and that item comes up, it doesn't even have to be hashed out there if that decision on the aquarium campus wants, if the council decides they want to delay or, approve it, but remove the campus and discuss that at a later
We could
time.
exclude that
So that-
specific recommendation from the
So,
list.
so that we don't have
Yeah.
to figure it all out.
Yeah, no,
At this
I-
meeting, we don't have to figure it out. At
Granted,
the council
and
meeting, we
I-
can
I
just
don't
say we're
mean
going to
to-
wait on that.
yeah, I don't mean to confuse the issue. I think it's certainly, you could still approve it.
Without the
With the
campus.
proviso that the campus would be removed, and how the actual wording goes on that. I'm sure Marseille can come up with some wonderful ways to
We
put
will
that in her
approve
table.
this item, but the aquarium campus will not be a part of that.
Would not be
approval.
part of
The
placing-
platted
Exclude that
SUP.
section.
And we may come back at a later date and have a more thorough discussion
That's
where
fine.
we have spent more time.
That's absolutely fine.
We'll honor this, but when we get to that point in the meeting, have your wife tell me what to say, okay? Because I'm trying to follow here.
Well,
and,
no, I think the simple thing
Just
is, I think
tell
the
her to
simple
text it
thing
to me.
is you would move to approve the changes to the UDO with the proviso that the aquarium campus be excluded
Excluded
from the place of assembly
Okay.
change.
All right,
I
well,
think I think that would be a very simple way to do it. That's assuming you're fine with everything else on the UDO changes, and, maybe somebody else has an issue.
I think we can roll
But
with
I
that.
wanted to bring that to the
Yeah.
attention of the JAA, and I thought, if it's how we feel as a body, I think we should tell the council that.
No problem with that.
What would I say here? I would move that the JAA makes a recommendation to the city council on item number 8 on their agenda tonight regarding the UDO, that the aquarium campus be excluded from the change on place of assembly.
I would second that motion.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a short and sweet motion on item number 4. Let's go ahead and vote, please.
Murray. Murray.
Yes.
OJ. Montgomery.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes?
Morris.
Yes.
Blackburn.
Yes.
Chair Box.
Yes. Staff report, Mr. Alexopoulos.
And Kenny, would you please turn the microphone on and then off when you're done? That's what our ringing is, a ringing problem.
All right, thank you.
In
Thank
the
you,
short
Mayor.
version.
Yes.
I mean, no disrespect, Kenny. It's actually kind of cold in here.
Okay.
Warm up outside.
So the aquarium's attendance and revenue is pretty much neck and neck with 2024. However, our membership sales are up about 31% this quarter versus last year's quarter at this time. So that's pretty positive considering that we changed our rates and everything. So I think it's a success. Also, the aquarium received the Belmont Award for sustainability. And so it's a statewide prestigious award presented by the Sustainability Alliance. Symphony by the Sea went very well, 683 in-person students attending, as well as 3,748 virtual students. Splash, I hope everybody went. I think it was great. It was a Roaring Twenties theme if you didn't go. And our presenting sponsor was River Spirit Casino. All the vendor slots were filled, and I haven't gotten any numbers yet from OAF, but I'm pretty sure that's coming. But it was, we had a lot of good positive feedback. Our annual Easter egg hunt is scheduled for April 19th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And we're doing indoor egg hunt, as well as we're changing it up this year and doing vendor tables that will hand out candy until 2 p.m. That way all kids can get, it's not just a mad dash for eggs, but they can also get candy, kind of like what we do at Hal Marine. And all 22 vendor slots have been filled, so there's a lot of buy-in from the community on that. We're pretty excited. We did an unveiling today of the fish bowl at the Arvist Center today, and so we have our the aquarium artwork, graphics, including our logo, right when you enter, and it looks really good. We had a pretty good turnout today, and we're really excited for that. The annual run scheduled for June 7th at 8 a.m. We're going to do a fun run and a sanctioned 5K run. We were going to do big wheel races at the same time, but we decided to move the big wheel races to when we do the food truck festival, because that's kind of something that's been lacking. Food truck festival is great, but we've kind of need something extra, activity-wise, to kind of make it a more complete event. The punch list was done today on the Aquatic Research Center, the Shark Research Center, and so far they're scheduled to be complete March 31st. And I don't believe there was any major items on the punch list. We kind of already did a preliminary, so unless something popped up that I'm not aware of, I think we're in pretty good shape. Our upside down catfish exhibit is near completed. It's a really whimsical, it's a small exhibit in our Extreme Fishes gallery, but it's really neat that we're doing basically an exhibit that's upside down, because the fish swim upside down. So it's like we're recreating a kid's home aquarium like you'd see on Nemo with the castle and everything, but that's upside down. So, and the fish swim upside down. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. We might even do the graphics upside down as well. We had some small leaks in the shark tunnel that developed about a month ago, and we are in the process of figuring out a remedy for it. We have a pretty good plan, and then all the leaks seem to have plugged themselves up. So, go figure. We spent a lot of work, though, in research and everything on what we were about to do. So, but they plugged themselves up. So
There are way worse outcomes for that.
Yeah. So I'm not complaining, and it was never a structural issue. It's simply from the inside. There, from age, all it takes is a small little entry through the seal, and then you've got little pinhole leaks everywhere. So, but we're lucky right now that it plugged itself up. But we think we have a solution in case it starts again. So we're ready for that. The new donor wall area in the Great Hall, the electrical is complete, and we're just waiting for the wall screens to come in and be installed. And the rock work for the Kelp Forest exhibit is in the process of being replaced, just from wear and tear from 20 years of time. Just that rock is slowly kind of degraded. So we're about 3/4 of the way through with that new rock work. So that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, the donor wall was OAF funded.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for Kenny while we have him here? All right.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I tried to make it as quick as I could.
You did good.
Thank you. Turning off now.
Any last comments from any members of our authority? light it up. Floor is yours. All right, very well. Nobody?
Well, there is one thing, the enterprise incentive leverage stuff. It would probably be nice if somebody would come talk to the OAF about what that means to us. Because again, I don't know if the JAA knows what it means to us either. But I know that got approved. I've read it, but I can't say I really understand it that well.
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe even, will that happen tonight?
I mean, the the aquarium is in. There's 3 different TIF areas, and they're a part of one of the TIF areas. But the more important part of this is the project area for those TIF areas, and the project area is from 91st to Polecat Creek, Arkansas River, almost all the way to Elwood. And so the revenue generated from these TIF areas, which are much smaller, the aquarium campus, the south of the turnpike where the mall is, and then closer to Elm, south of the turnpike, those areas, as they generate revenue for the TIF, that TIF revenue can be used on public infrastructure projects. That's funded through 2% or 2 pennies of the 3.5 pennies that we collect on every dollar sale of retail, and 75% of the increase in property tax when things are built. So that goes into the TIF. The Leverage Act is a mechanism that the state legislature passed 10, 15 years ago, which allows municipalities to apply for funds to get the state to match the sales tax amount that the city has pledged to the TIF. So what this does is say, if the aquarium campus, even the parking lot, for instance, if there's some sort of public improvement to the parking lot and the aquarium applied for TIF funds, where there were, let's say, just our 2% that was being generated in those TIF areas, now the state would match. So now instead of talking about the 2%, we're talking about 4%. So it's a pretty big deal that can benefit a lot of different projects in the project area.
Yeah, because I just wasn't sure how, because when I read it, it looked like the businesses apply for it. I couldn't tell that the city applied for it. I know the city had to certify that the business qualified, but as I don't read these kinds of things very often. So I found it confusing in that regard.
So we applied on behalf of these TIFs to get the state match. The state will match for public infrastructure related to, so a business could apply for these funds, but the city can apply for those funds as well, the matching funds.
Okay, that wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Okay. And it said the infrastructure investments letter said in Jenks identified in the project plan. What
Basically,
was the project plan?
mirroring the TIF project plans.
Okay.
Which there are a long list of public projects.
Yeah.
Pedestrian bridge, riverbank stabilization, low water dam, 106th Street extension, lift station, force main, public parking structures, all sorts of public improvements, parks,
So
sidewalk.
we had follow-up discussion in preparation for this evening on it, and basically it's going to be good for the city end to end. And with the aquarium being a part of that, there'll be benefits to the aquarium as well.
I mean, in all fairness, this is the single greatest piece of financial news in city's history.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, this is once in a lifetime kind of thing. So, 105 years old in 2025. Relationships matter. This is a great gift. We just have to steward it well.
Okay. Oh, that helps.
Yeah.
Again, I just heard about it when I saw it up on the agenda, and we got a copy of it. And we're trying to get a sense of, okay, what does this mean?
Yeah, and the short answer is, what does it mean today, tomorrow, in a week? It means there's the potential to leverage that TIF revenue for improvements to the aquarium. And everything else in the project area just has to be prioritized.
And now that I've heard that answer in your question, I'm terrified to go do any interviews about this, Keith. So somebody better stand next to me and tell me what to say. Thanks, Chris.
Well, there's always a typical answer to say, we're very happy and we're studying it to figure out the best way to proceed.
Yeah.
We're
Thank you,
receiving- Yeah, the state will match TIF revenue for public infrastructure
Yeah.
projects.
There you go. Stay well. Okay. All right. My brain is free and clear. It is 5:30. I'd like to call us adjourned. Thank you guys very much.
Do we have the motion to adjourn? Okay.
Everyone, welcome. We are going to get underway a little bit out of order today, but we're going to open an emergency meeting of the Jenks City Council. Today is Tuesday, March 25th of 2025. The time is roughly 6:05 p.m. My name is Corey Box. I will be your chair for this evening's proceedings. And Mrs. Butterfield, if you could please verify our attendance.
Yes. Brown,
Here?
Short,
Here.
Emmons,
Here.
OJ, Abel,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
Box.
Here, item number 1 under a general business is the emergency disaster declaration resolution relating to the Gem Dirt fire and related wildfire conditions. Bear with me for a moment. The Jenks City Council Emergency Disaster Declaration Resolution is a resolution declaring an emergency as a result of fires, waiving state and local provisions pertaining to competitive bidding as allowed by law, authorizing the city manager to execute emergency contracts as necessary, authorizing the city manager to accept services and aid, providing for the termination and extension of the provisions of this resolution, waiving and directing the general manager to carry out all applicable provisions. Whereas the city of Jenks and the area in its fence line within its fire protection area has now experienced a disaster in the form of fires beginning on March 17th of 2025 and continuing through the date of this declaration and anticipated to continue for some time after. The fires are determined to be accidental, of unknown origin, and have been exacerbated by high winds and extreme weather conditions, and the resulting smoke has affected the surrounding residential community. Immediate attention has been required and continues to be required to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, ensure public safety, and provide for the worst-case scenario. During the period of declared emergency, it is necessary and prudent that the city manager be able to take action and implement policies quickly and expeditiously in the best interest of the authority and the residents of the city of Jenks. Whereas the bidding and contracting procedures set forth in Title 60 of the Oklahoma Statutes and the Public Competitive Bidding Act take approximately 60 days. It is estimated that the savings that would occur as a result of the competitive bidding process would not be sufficient to justify the potential danger to the health and safety of the public. And it is necessary that the city manager be able to enter into contracts quickly and expeditiously during this time of declared emergency in order to serve the residents of the city of Jenks. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Jenks that an emergency exists due to fire conditions. Be it further resolved that the City Council may terminate or extend the provisions of this resolution prior to the said date of expiration. Be it further resolved that during this period of declared emergency, the city manager is hereby authorized and directed to exercise the powers possessed by the city manager as set forth in state law and as directed by this resolution, and to further expressly take all actions necessary in the best interest of the city and the citizens of the city of Jenks. Be it further resolved that all acts and policies taken, made, and implemented to this date by the city manager are hereby ratified and approved. Be it further resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to accept all services, equipment, supplies, and aid from other political subdivisions, agencies, and the state of Oklahoma in assistance with this emergency. Be it further resolved that pursuant to the emergency provisions in Title 60 of the Oklahoma Statutes and the Public Competitive Bidding Act and City Code, the City Council and the City Manager declare an emergency such that competitive bidding is waived with respect to contracts relating to the emergency and falling under the Act. Competitive bidding is waived and City Manager is authorized to execute emergency contracts and bonds relating to this emergency as necessary in amounts up to $50,000 without necessity of the approval of the City Council in the future. The provisions of this resolution shall expire 30 days from this date, and these actions are all taken for the health, safety, and general welfare for the city of Jenks and its residents. At this time, I'd like to ask Fire Chief Ostrom if you could please come and give us an update on what the situation is at this time. It'd be very much appreciated, sir.
Chief Ostrom, could you turn the microphone on? I'm sorry, we're having a ringing problem.
How is that? Better? All right.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me today. Apologize, just came from the fire, so I'm a little full of the dirt here today. So, good news on today's front. We can start there. We'll start from where it started. So March 17th, we had some record winds come through, record fire danger in Jenks. We were dispatched about 3:30 p.m. was the initial call to Gem Dirt Fire. Dispatched to a leaf pile on fire. Obviously, when we arrived, we found a little bit more than a leaf pile on fire. Initial size of the burning area was a 400 by 400 by 30-foot tall pile of mulch. Immediately, we called mutual aid. We called in Tulsa. We called in Glenpool, Sapulpa. We also had Bixby backfilling the station, as well as Tulsa Fire backfilling the other station. Peak of operations, we had 8 engines running, 6 brush trucks, 5 command vehicles, and flowed close to 250,000 gallons of water during the initial period. During that period, we also used excavators from both Gem Dirt and our City Public Works to move material in an attempt to have the water actually penetrate the fire. All this was going on, of course, with 50-mile-an-hour winds, and our primary goal that we achieved was preventing the fire spread initially to the north neighborhoods along 101st and north, and then eventually with the wind shift over the next course of the days, preventing the fire from switching to the south and crossing Polkrat Creek and impacting Southern Reserve with fire. So our initial goals was containment in this fire, which we succeeded with in spite of those critical conditions. We also prevented the fire from spreading to the Gem Dirt offices and buildings and their fuel pumps that they had on site and also their equipment. So as far as that goes, it was a very good result that we achieved during the initial operations. After that, we ran into some challenges with what we flowed, 250,000 gallons of water. The nearest hydrants are either in Southern Reserve or north of the facility, about 3,000 feet to the north, up 33rd West. Fire this large, 4.8 million cubic feet of material, those combustibles, requires a substantial water flow. We calculated about 20,000 gallons per minute sustained when it was at its peak of burning to actually extinguish the fire. That amount was not an amount that we could achieve with the resources we had available, even through additional resources from other mutual aid departments and the county as well. During the times, we were not the only fire. If you read the papers, you saw Stillwater's fire, Manford fire. A lot of things were happening in the state, all over the state. Resources were being depleted substantially. Luckily, during this time, some of the resources that we brought in, Florida is one area that was brought into the state to assist. Louisiana was another area that was not experiencing wildfires. So normally, Oklahoma tends to give a lot of resources. In this case, we have resources from out of state that have come in to help state aids. Those resources were all over the western part of Oklahoma. They were all in our area as well, all of them involved in fires. So the resources that we had to work with extinguishment were very limited. Very common in this type of fire is a defensive fire where you contain it until you can deal with any sort of extinguishment. That resulted in where we're at today, which we've had a week of smoldering fire, a week of extreme discomfort for a lot of our residents in town, which we definitely acknowledge. While that's anticipated, unfortunately it's very inconvenient and harmful to some people, especially have health conditions. The good news is, so we had a little break in the weather today. So all of Oklahoma today was finally, for the first day, without a fire danger or elevated fire watch. Those resources that I mentioned that were in our state are still in the state because they usually do week-long contracts. So we actually had a great break today. We had resources from OEM come out, Tulsa Emergency Management came out as well to our site. We walked through that process. We were able to get 4 dozers out of Louisiana. We were able to get 6 pumpers from the Forestry Service out of Florida. And those arrived about 11 o'clock today. So we made a decision with Tulsa Emergency Management with those resources on hand, as well as county resources from the area and regional resources, to go ahead and make a push on this fire. There was some risk to that. If we start stirring up this fire and start adding water and trying to extinguish it, and that's going to cause a lot more smoke, a lot more ash to go into the air. And if we don't have the resources to backfill that fire or to contain that, we could actually make the situation substantially worse. But with the resources that Tulsa County promised us that they were coming, and with the state resources we developed as well, we went ahead and made the plan to make an attack today. Currently, right now, out on the scene, we've got 13 tankers from the area departments. So 13 different fire departments are represented in that. Wagner County is out there. We've got Okmulgee County, Emergency Management is out there, Creek County, as well as Tulsa County. We've got engines from Tulsa, as well as our engines. We've got the brush trucks, like I said, from Florida, the dozers from Louisiana, command vehicles, Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management is out there, Tulsa Emergency Management is out there, and all those different counties have their resources as well out there. When I left the fire, we had about 10% extinguishment, 10 to 15% extinguishment on the pile. And that was after one full day today of operations. The good news is toward the end of the day, we were more efficient in our operations. We actually, at the end, calculated we were flowing approximately 250,000 gallons an hour under that fire. So as my report that you guys got yesterday said, we actually flowed 250,000 gallons over the course of the first 3 or 4 days. In this case, with those resources on hand, without many tankers shoveling water to us, we were able to flow about 250,000 gallons an hour to get to that 10% extinguishment. So that's kind of the latest update. Those operations are going to continue till 9 o'clock tonight when the state resources are released. The state resources already have been allocated back to us tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. So from tomorrow, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., we've got a full 12 hours of those same resources, and also all the county resources are coming back to us as well. So we anticipate having a very substantial stop on that. So this emergency declaration is perfect timing in that, enabled us to actually receive that aid and as we move forward as well. So my recommendation is definitely to proceed with the emergency declaration, and that would help us to assist, hopefully have a great extinguishment tomorrow. And then we'll be coming back with a report to you probably mid-operational period tomorrow, what's going to happen for the third day, if we're going to need to have a third day.
Chief, please extend our thanks to everybody on your team in Tulsa and everybody who's shown up. We really appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate the decision to go ahead and attack it instead of, Any questions for the chief from council? Comments?
Chief, how was the equipment handled? And I know you got some new firefighters, no injuries during the process?
No injuries to report at all. As typical with this large of operation, vehicles are probably the first things we have affecting. 2 of our partner tankers went down with mechanical issues, but that's very common. That's why we have a little bit extra when we call on this many. So I believe one of Coeita's and one of Lone Star, I believe, was the 2 that had to duck out of the operation partway through to fix some minor details. So.
Anyone else? Mr. Murray?
Having these resources help makes a big difference, and I'm hoping that you guys are able to get a chance to get a little relief out of it, and the other departments are helping. And the mutual aid comes into play so much in these events, and we're glad that we have it available.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I mean, without these resources today, this fire, we would be in the same method that we have been the last week. To fight this fire would have been impossible without these resources that arrived today. And the standard operating procedure from NFP on down is this fire is allowed to burn until you have the resources. So that was the only difference in change. It's not a change in our position toward the fire. It's strictly a change in resources and what we had available. You're welcome.
Public opportunity to thank County Commissioner Sims, Representative Lay, Senator Reinhardt. They've been a very big help. Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, thank you. For the gentleman from the governor's office who called that I accidentally hung up on, thank you. For retired Colonel Griffiths from the Oklahoma National Guard, thank you. Thank you for taking our call, and we appreciate all your support. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, and Donna's not here. Let's get down to the business of our emergency order here. If anyone would like to make a motion, we can proceed, please.
Make a motion that we do declare this as an emergency situation so that we can allow our city manager to progress along to get this taken care of.
Second.
Thank you, sir. We have a proper motion and a second on item 1. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Box.
Yes. Thank you very much. The time is 6:18. We are adjourned. Okay, we are going to go ahead and convene a rescheduled meeting of the Jenks City Council. It's still Tuesday, March 25th. It's approximately 6:20 PM. I'm still Corey Box. I'll still be your chair for tonight's proceedings. If we could have Mrs. Butterfield verify our attendance, please.
Yes. Brown,
Here?
Short,
Here.
Emmons,
Here.
OJ, Abel,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
Box.
Here, thank you very much. Pastor left, but tell you what, it's all right. There's a mathematical possibility. This might be the last time I get to serve the city of Jenks tonight. I would say if that's the case, if that's God's will, it's been a great honor to serve the city of Jenks for the last 4 years as your mayor. That being said, I would like to take the opportunity to lead tonight's invocation, so if you would please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom we have to live in a country, in a city where we can pray out loud, where we're not persecuted for doing it. We thank you for all the blessings you've given to the city of Jenks, which we're going to talk about tonight. We pray for all our residents, Lord, that you protect their homes and their health as they deal with the fire issues. And we thank you for all the friends and the relationships that we have that are here to help us now and take care of our residents so they can get back to breathing easy and living again. We thank you, Lord, for you've blessed this city so much in these last few years. You've brought people into our lives that are smart and wise with good ideas, and you've put us into positions to succeed, and we thank you so much for that. We pray that everything we do here tonight would bring you glory, would bring you honor, and we thank you for this opportunity again. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. There's a Marine in the audience, sir. If you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Present arms. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order arms.
Thank you, sir. Animal Welfare Spotlight. We have a dog in the audience. He's happy to be he or she. My apologies to you, sir or ma'am.
It's a he.
He.
Go ahead.
Chief's going to do the intro tonight.
Mayor,
this
members
must
of
you taking this
council.
dog home?
What now?
You taking him home?
No, I am not taking this dog home.
All right.
But he is free and adoptable, but that is not why I'm here. So I am here to introduce you to our new animal control officer, Jordan Simmons. She started yesterday. She is replacing Mr. Caleb Foster, who is moving over to police patrol in the next couple weeks. And then we have another young man, Morgan McDaniel, who is in the Animal Control Academy right now, and we'll be back next week, and you'll get to meet him soon if you haven't already. But that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Jordan and Caleb, and they can introduce you to their guest.
Thank you, Chief.
Oh, he's got me all tangled up. Give me a second. This is Toby. He's one of the 6 dogs we have at the shelter right now. He's the one I talked about a couple weeks ago that if I'm ever washing the pound, he is attacking the water hose. That's why he got out of the truck earlier stopping wet, because he would not stop
Don't take him
going
anywhere
after
near
them.
that fire then.
No, it would not end well. But we have 6 currently, and we're actually having an adoption event this Saturday at Bark West from 10 to 2. All adoption fees are waived, and all the animals are vaccinated and euthanized, or not euthanized, I'm sorry, sterilized and ready for their new home.
And you're going to be our new police officer. Wait, you got a live one, Chief.
I definitely meant sterilized, as in fixed and neutered, not.
Bob Barker, gotcha. We
Yep.
go. You might want to let her take over. She's itching to talk.
And this is Jordan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Welcome, Jordan.
Hi, my name is Jordan Simmons. I'm very excited to be here and be able to do this position.
Okay, you're not getting off that easy. Where did we find you? Where do you live?
I live in Owasso.
Okay.
Yep. And I just applied for Jenks Animal Control. It's something I've been wanting to do my whole life.
You have
So,
a good rapport with animals?
I think so.
Do they listen to you when you whisper?
Most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the team.
All right.
Happy
Thank
to have you. Take care of our animals. Now let's get them adopted.
Yeah.
Not
I will.
the other.
Yeah, not the other thing.
Yeah. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a couple proclamations. We will, best part of this job. Okay. The City of Jenks, Oklahoma Proclamation 2025 Arbor Week. Whereas in 1872, Arbor Day was proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture, and Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, promote walkability, and beautify our community. And trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And Jenks has been a Tree City, USA since 2019. Therefore, I, Corey Box, Mayor of the City of Jenks, do hereby proclaim the final full week of March of 2025 as Arbor Week in the City of Jenks. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And I urge all citizens to plant trees and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Anybody here to accept the proclamation for Arbor Day? Has anybody planted a tree in the last week, last month, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days? His Instagram handle is Chris Likes Trees. So, sir, on behalf of Arbor Day, you're very welcome. It really is. It says Chris Likes Trees. So, all right. Is anybody here representing Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month? All right. Whereas autism affects an estimated 1 in 36 children and 1 in 45 adults, and affects each person differently, resulting in unique strengths and challenges. And autism can cause challenges with verbal and nonverbal communication, social interaction, and repetitive behaviors, and can affect anyone, regardless of age, race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. And autism is often accompanied by medical conditions that impact the quality of life. A comprehensive collaborative approach will help to advance research, providing a better understanding of autism spectrum disorder, while strengthening advocacy efforts and ensuring access to services and resources throughout the lifespan. And early diagnosis and intervention tailored to individual needs can have lifelong benefits, easing the transition to adulthood and fostering greater independence. And each person and family affected by autism should have access to reliable information, supports, and opportunities to live up to their greatest potential. And the City of Jenks is honored to take part in the annual observance of Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month to address the diverse needs of autistic individuals and their families. Therefore, I, Corey Box, Mayor of the City of Jenks, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month in the City of Jenks, to increase understanding and acceptance of Oklahomans with autism spectrum disorder. Do we still have the vehicle branded? Do? Okay. Is anyone here, last call, accept this proclamation? Okay. Well, for those of you that care enough about this to bring it to our attention, thank you. Thank you very much. Proclamation for the City of Jenks. Whereas November 11th is recognized federally as Veterans Day. Veterans Day was created to honor the veterans who have selflessly dedicated their lives to the service and defense of our country, upholding the values of freedom, justice, and liberty for all. Their sacrifices have made our way of life possible. Veterans of both war and peacetime have played an important role in making our nation strong and secure. It is our responsibility and honor to recognize the immense contributions of our veterans. Therefore, I, Corey Box, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Jenks, do hereby proclaim November 9th of 2025 as Veterans Appreciation Day. And I ask our citizens to take a moment to thank our veterans and their families for all that they have done. As many of you know, it was my vision to create the Jenks Veterans Advisory Council 2 years ago. It wasn't my idea. Mayor Bynum has one, and I went to their meeting and I thought this is a good thing. So we created that here. I came up with Jenks Veterans Advisory Council because for those of you that have served, know that's a super cool acronym called JVAC, and that impresses military people like me. So we created JVAC, and I want to thank Peggy Evans, Yolanda, Aaron Allen, and Rick Evans. You guys have done an amazing job. 3 of those people are veterans, 1 is not, but we get just as much help from the non-veteran community, and we get just as much love for them from those folks. They've done an amazing job building something from the ground up. If you haven't been to Veterans Park lately, it's dramatically different now than it was just 2 years ago. And it's thanks to these people. It's my idea, and then they implement. And that guy right there, I can give him a napkin with a piece of crap on it, and he turns it into gold. He literally does. He's gonna get the Run With It award because I tell him I'd like to honor veterans with the Purple Heart thing, and look what he created. It's beautiful. And that's his work. So I thank Barry from Public Works for taking simple ideas and turning them into beautiful execution. And thankful for all the veterans in our city who are continuing to do good things. And I want to go ahead and take a moment, and former post commander from the VFW, Aaron Allen, is here, and he'll accept this proclamation on behalf of all veterans. And if you guys don't know, don't ever call this guy an ex-Marine, because once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. If you're an Air Force retired guy, you're just an Air Force retired guy. This is former Commander Aaron Allen. And sir, this is the Jenks Mayor's coin. I know you're familiar with the tradition. If you look at the coin, it does not represent me, it represents this office. And when you look at the symbols on it, it represents everything about Jenks that is special. Not that we're excellent, but we're constantly in the pursuit of excellence, just like you've been. And we appreciate all your work. And even though you're no longer the commander of the VFW, we count on you to do most of the heavy lifting going forward. You bet, sir. Thank you, sir. Help me out instead. Hoorah! We can frame that stuff. Figure out where it went. All right, citizens' comments or public comment. This is an opportunity for our residents to come and address your council collectively. If there's anything you'd like to discuss, as long as that item is not being addressed on tonight's agenda, you are welcome to do so. The floor is yours. We just need your name and address. And I say we give you about 180 seconds, maybe 240. If you're really good, we'll extend it to 360. Anyone, first call. All right, I don't see anybody wiggling in their seat, so thank you. We will close the floor to public comment. We'll move on to our general business. Item number 1 is the appropriate consideration and appropriate action relating to our consent agenda. If anyone on the council would like to move, poll, or discuss any items on the consent agenda, you may do so now. If not, we can entertain a motion to approve item 1 in its entirety.
Mr. Mayor, request a removal of 1A for edits that have been submitted to the city manager and then reviewed at the next meeting.
Okay, Councilor Brown is requesting remove item 1A to further review the minutes of the past meeting. Would anybody second that motion?
A second.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second to remove item 1A. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, and we will take action on that next time. All right, moving on to item 2. We need a motion to approve the rest of item 1, please.
Motion to approve the rest of item 1 as is.
Second.
Thank you. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Box.
Yes, thank you. Item 3 is Resolution 863, a resolution acknowledging and thanking the Oklahoma Department of Commerce and staff for their partnership and contribution of $138,947,295 in funds pursuant to the Oklahoma Local Development and Enterprise Zone Incentive Leverage Act. The name of the act is as big as the dollars. Probably could have shortened that. For infrastructure development in the Jenks River Entertainment District. We are on page 206. If we'd like to follow along, and who are we inviting up first, Mr. Shrout?
Well, I can just give a brief explanation
Yes,
of
sir,
the what this is. So, I believe in 2023, the city of Jenks, along with the other taxing jurisdictions such as the libraries, the school districts, the TCC, Tulsa Tech, we all met and decided that it would be appropriate to create a tax increment finance district to incentivize development in areas where it is difficult to develop, such as floodplain, floodway, and really the main areas we're talking about are the aquarium campus, the land south of the turnpike, both north of Polecat Creek, east and west of the railroad tracks. The city is dedicated 2% of our sales tax that we collect, and because of this application, and because the state had a vigorous process that perhaps Heather Turner could explain, they went through our application and decided to fund and essentially match up to $140 million for public infrastructure within the city of Jenks, which I think is probably the largest amount of money that really in Northeast Oklahoma the state has dedicated to a project of this size. So it's a really big deal. It took years in the making with many different jurisdictions, and so I think Heather might have something to present to the city council.
Good evening. Welcome back.
There we go. It's been a while since I've messed with this microphone. I just want to say congratulations to the city of Jenks, and your application was. We dotted all of the I's and crossed all of the T's, and our research team, which is under John Chappie, and you'll see his information if you look up the Leverage Act, and you see that what you all have done is just incredible, having foresight. And it's taken years to do that, and I know that, and it's taken a lot of thought and intention on the part of our city manager and our mayor, and then also, of course, city council to see a future. And every city could look to Jenks and see, okay, you have a vision for tomorrow, and you're making intentional investments today, and the state saw that in your application, and you did a really quality job of that application, and our research team was, of course, impressed by it, and we're excited for continued growth here in Jenks. So I do have just a certificate of recognition for choosing to grow intentionally in the state of Oklahoma, and it's signed in on behalf of our governor, Kevin Stitt, and Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, and then, of course, myself, and so I'm super honored to present that to you today. So if you'd like to take a picture and you can come down, that would be fantastic.
Let's all go.
Yeah, please,
Okay.
City
We can
Council,
squeeze
please join us. Get in here.
you should be in the middle.
Corey, get in here. Get up here in the middle. Mayor,
Mayor.
it's a big deal.
Oh, damn, different colored blues.
See everyone. Okay, looks like everyone's facing it. Okay, ready? Go.
And then we're gonna do one.
Yes. Sorry, city manager, thank you. Perfect.
Congratulations.
This is the single biggest financial news story of a 105-year-old city. Would you agree? So there's no way I'm going to sit here and talk about it. I'd say open the floor. What do you guys want to talk about? Anything you want to say about this? It's certainly an opportunity to celebrate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, frankly. I had to sit down and read this twice. So I presume there's a list of assets that we can utilize the proceeds to build upon. Do we know, can you expound on a few of them, just some of the bigger issues? I mean, some of these issues, I think, are such generational game changers that, 100 years, these are going to be 100-year assets. And that's what's so incredible. We're going to take this city from 120 years old to, 220 years old with this act right now. And so that's what's really exciting about this.
And I think that we're going to work on public education related to TIFs and this Leverage Act because the items that we applied for are truly public infrastructure that not only are going to enhance the city of Jenks as a destination, but truly make the city of Jenks a better place for our existing residents. And some of the things that we applied for and were granted a matching amount for were the 106th Street extension, bank stabilization along the Arkansas River, repairing and improving the pedestrian bridge, creating park space, streetscaping, making our streets more attractive, stormwater improvements, engineering and floodplain permitting, and the beauty of this is the way that the TIFs were set up is the area that we can use these funds is really all of what is sometimes referred to as downtown or Old Town Jenks. It's 91st all the way to Polecat Creek, and so it's not just the area along the turnpike. It really goes as far as Park West to the west and the river to the east. And I know that we've been working with the city of Tulsa, the Muskogee Creek Nation on trying to fund a low water dam and improvements to the Arkansas River. And I think that this is really going to be a very important component in hopefully seeing some of those projects through. So we're extremely grateful to the state. We're extremely grateful to the council and the other jurisdictions that agreed to create the TIFs, because without the TIFs, we wouldn't have been able to apply for these matching funds. And so I think this is going to have a big impact on the citizens of Jenks, the Tulsa metro area, Oklahoma as a whole, and we're really thankful that we had good staff that were able to apply for this and get this done. So it's extremely exciting.
Well, congratulations. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everyone who worked on this project, because this is the culmination of a lot of work and a lot of vision that a lot of people have had over the years. And so I want to just commend you on behalf, I speak for the council on this one, that thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah, I agree. For all of you that were involved, and by the way, probably a good idea to continue to educate the public on TIF. It's extremely complicated. Planning and zoning is complicated enough. These are complicated things, but what we've always known and we've always believed, and that's why these TIFs were created with unanimous consent. I think they did a great job of selling this to the taxing entities. These folks are giving up their dollars because they believe in Jenks, the way she believes in Jenks. And thank the governor and lieutenant governor for believing in this city enough this is an extremely generous investment in the city, and everybody's going to be better as a result. So I don't even know what else to say. You guys did a great job of keeping this from us, by the way. I don't know how you keep a secret that well, but we appreciate it. And the floor is yours if anybody else would like to say anything.
I'd like to follow Counselor Short. Again, the effort behind this, when you mentioned the TIFs, from the time I stepped on with leadership till today, it's been roughly 12, maybe a little bit more than 12 years of service. I've worked with 4 city planners, and the effort that goes on behind the scenes with the staff, leadership, and the vision that's required to do this, and talking with the executive director for the department. This is a performance-based award. And anecdotally, don't cite me on this if anybody wants to correct me, if I remember correctly, when the Gathering Place was launched, the Kaiser Foundation, I think, kicked in $55 million. So comparatively, $140 million compared to that. This is going to have a positive impact to the entire city, the entire community for a long time. So this is a huge thing. This is a historic thing, and I want to thank the mayor for his leadership. Appreciate your vision and the way that you pulled us all together as a cohesive group, and everybody else, city manager, and every other counselor. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Murray.
Yeah, my sentiments exactly on this about getting something like this that's going to help and benefit the citizens in the city of Jenks. And I just want to, I guess, reiterate the fact that this money is going to be coming in, but it's not something that's going to be utilized frivolously. We have a list, as you read. There will be things that will be accomplished with this, and so we'll be accountable for it. And I think that's the main thing, that the citizens know that we're getting this from the state, but it's something that we can utilize for a lot of things, but it's not just to be spent on things because we want to do it. It's going to be spent on things because we need to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Last call. All right. Thank you to your team, to everybody. I'll call them and thank them personally, but we appreciate you. You've been a cornerstone of Jenks for a long time, and relationships matter, so we appreciate you taking care of us. And this is the last amazing thing that happened in Jenks. What do you think, Karen? The levee? Before that, what was the biggest news in Jenks before?
The rodeo grounds.
Okay, never mind. I don't know what you're talking about. It was before me. Anybody remember a rodeo? You do? Okay, well, you lived here a lot longer than I have. Thank you again so much. Oh, forgotten. We don't vote on this, do we? Oh, yeah, okay. Well, let's go ahead. Did I read it yet? I read it already? Oh, okay. Let me find it. Come on. I did? Okay, well, title's been read. Let's go ahead and, if we would like to accept this, let's get a motion.
I make a motion to approve the resolution 863 as presented.
Second. Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes. You sticking around for the rest? It's exciting. I'm kidding. You're off the hook. Thank you. Number 4, ordinance number 1667 related to Jenks zoning 25 SUP 124, a request for a place of assembly, repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing for severability and declaring an emergency. The general location is at 219 South Gateway Place, which is also known as the Candlewood Suites Hotel. We are on page 209 if you're following along, and we welcome Miss Marcy Hilton to the stage. To the podium, excuse me.
To the stage. Thank you, Mayor Box, council, and staff. This is not as maybe riveting as the last piece of information, but I think it's really important to our applicants that are in the audience this evening. So this is an application for an assembly use, and we'll talk more about assembly uses later this evening, but for now, this is a application for about 1,200 square feet in an existing structure. So we have Candlewood Suites, and I think on their lower level, I counted it up earlier, they still have on the far north end about 3,000 square feet that's dedicated to a restaurant. It's partially built out, and that space is not being touched. It's not going away. They have on the north side about 2,400 square feet that is dedicated and used as a conference area. Then they have a 600 square foot retail area, another 653 square feet space, and then they have about 1,219 square feet, and then an additional 809. So they're asking for about 1,200. They've been using the conference area for 2 years. They have not had any issues with the parking or any complications with the hotel itself. So our code, the Unified Development Ordinance, requires a place of assembly and commercial shopping to come to you for a specific use permit. So the question tonight, is this an appropriate place? And we're looking at specific use permit 124. A little bit tricky about this particular piece of property. It is commercial shopping, but it has a planned unit development over it. I had a couple of different options in moving forward. I could have just amended the planned unit development, but we chose to just specify that this 1,200 square feet for this specific use permit. And I don't think we really need to, I don't think I have anything specific to look at. Everything else is kind of nuts and bolts planning. That's really all I have to say. The applicant was willing to move their hours around if there was ever a conflict with parking on that lot, but to date, for 2 years, they haven't had any issues, and they do have support from the landlord.
How many services a week do they have, do you know?
Currently, two services.
Okay, and there's no reports, nobody has had any conflict with anything? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hilton. Any questions from council on my right? Any questions on my left? All right, thank you very much. We are on item 4. If there's no further questions, we can go ahead and
Make a
entertain
motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Okay, thank you. We have a proper motion and a second for ordinance 1667. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes?
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 5 is the emergency clause for ordinance 1667.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Let's vote, please.
Can we
Brown?
do that? Question, on the question, sir? Can we do that in the absence of the vice?
We have 6, right?
Okay, very good. Sorry.
Yep, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can I go ahead? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Box.
Yes, ma'am. Item 6 is a public hearing for community development block grant application for the fiscal year 2025 for construction of the Jenks Adult Activity Center, also known as JAC. We are on page 220 if you're following along. We welcome for the first time this evening Mr. Robert Carr.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. There's been another round of community development block grant funding applications that are being taken by NCOG. And the city of Jenks is on a program where we get applications that we can submit every 3 years. So 3 years ago, we had an award of money in the amount of $119,478 that was for design services for the JAC facility. Of that money, we only have spent a little over $70,000, so that leaves about $48,500 towards construction. Well, the latest construction cost estimate, which probably would have changed by now, was prepared by Greg Helms in the amount of $943,879. Now, I got a cost estimate from him on another project about a week ago, and he said that steel prices have gone up and something else, I think it was copper, so I'm sure that this would have gone up by now also. But as part of this process, we are applying for the next round, which would be about $120,143 that we could get. And senior facilities do not require any income survey to be done within the city. Other projects that are typically done under the Community Development Block Grant Program require it to be low to moderate income, so you have to do an income survey because all of Jenks does not really qualify for low to moderate income. So there may be pockets in order to determine locations, but the senior facility does not require such a survey. So that helps us in this. So we can apply for all this money, and we would like to have it have it go towards the construction of the facility. Now, that's not going to give us enough money to do it, and it doesn't mean we're going to start construction right away anyway, because there's other things that need to take place in advance of that in order to start working on the facility that is now occupied by the police. So unless we find a place for the police to go, we can't do any improvements over there at this point. Another requirement of the application is to hold the public hearing, which this agenda item is. The next agenda item is approving the application. So at this point, if you would like to have the public hearing, I will get out of the way.
Any questions from council for Mr. Carr before he takes a break?
Well, I guess if I could, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if so, in getting this 120,000, then it would be, I guess, with the 48,000 left over from the last one, would that just go into a holding pattern until we can build, or how is that process?
Well, that I need to clarify with INCOG, because there's usually a time limit on how long things can stay in the holding pattern. And I don't know if we're going to be able to meet that time frame or not, but the other work has been probably expired by now also, so I think it would work out all right. But they don't want to have to give money back to the federal government for work that's not being done. So I might have to talk to Greg Helms and find out if there might be some portion of work that could still be done, even with the police being in the building. But we'd have to bid it out in order to do that also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Carr? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the floor to council, and we are on item number 6, which is a public hearing related to our request to apply for grant money for JAAA. If anyone from the public would like to speak on this, you are welcome to do so, and it will not limit your time. Good evening.
Good evening. Charlotte Montgomery, 10612 South Fir Avenue. First, I'd like to give a shout out to former Councilor Kaylin. She's been under the weather, and so hopefully she's watching this streaming. And she was really the spark that got the new JAAA moving forward. And without her, I mean, she was full of vigor to see this through. Unfortunately, it didn't during her term, but I also want to recognize that the city manager was also very supportive of that effort. And I can't wait, but I'm going to have to wait for the facility to move into the police department. And so that was actually my real question there was, any time frame? Do you have a crystal ball, like 5 years probably, before you could find a home? Good as any?
That's as good as any number I've heard.
Okay. And other than,
I think he's, unless you want to keep
I
going.
mean,
with it.
less than 5.
I hope. I
But
hope.
I think that's pretty good latitude, so 5, less than 5.
Okay, well,
wouldn't have said
I'll
that.
still be within
I
my
would go.
expiry date so that I can enjoy the new facility. So that's my main goal there. But this is just awesome, and thank you for keeping on top of the grants that are coming through the INCOG. I really appreciate that. And of course, there were several of us who were a core group that really wanted to see this happen. So we're all very happy to see it move forward.
No,
Thank you.
And yes, I agree to Caitlin, who got this whole thing started, and it's been quite a few years. And, you know, I was going to say something about Bill, because he's not here, but
Yeah.
all of the guys have done a lot of work, and I know there's been some grind along the way, but the seniors are an exceptionally high priority, and if we did have the crystal ball, and if there was a building, and I think you know, the dominoes have to fall and hit each other in a
Yes.
certain way for this to happen right now. Unless, of course, the money falls out of the sky.
Well, it did earlier
just did.
today,
No,
so.
I said that with
Let's
like an
keep the
asterisk.
momentum going.
I said it with an asterisk because there's a list of things, and I didn't know if that was on the list, but.
And it really is. I mean, that's that's why the TIF project area is the area that it is. It's larger than just the TIF district areas that generate the funds. The project area includes this area. It includes Main Street. It includes where we are right now. And so improvements both through TIF revenue and through the Leverage Act revenue can go towards potentially speeding this up.
So the senior center could be a benefit of the new Leverage Act.
Been a factor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
believe me, when we visit them, there's more, we want more for them than playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
And chair yoga seems like a good thing, but you need more space. And I think the vitality of people when they're engaged with each other, and it's a good group, and if we could give them more options.
There's a great option.
Yeah.
It's
What?
called pickleball.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we were on our way to being the pickleball capital of America, but I don't know that that's happening anymore. But
Hey,
you know,
we could still
I say
be-
this because when I go to Broken Arrow, you know, look at the Veterans Center. And it's just amazing, and it's like walking through a museum. You go to the senior center, and you know they're doing P90X, and I don't even have a gym that cool, and we want what they have, and you know,
We're gonna do it.
We're not Broken Arrow, but we have a desire to be there, and appreciate you being a champion for them, and you can tell them that what we said earlier this year is true. They are the highest priority, and there's a few people on the priority ladder, but they've always been there, and hopefully you and guys like Bill and Keith can close the deal and help
Yes.
us find. We need your help to get there. 'Cause, yeah, but thank you. Appreciate it very much. What's the age requirement to John, the seniors?
55.
2 years, man. What about you? 5 more? Just you and me? You're 54, right? 1 more month?
20 years.
New guy. Welcome the new guy. No, it's going to be great. There's an amazing group of people, so we're very happy. Anyone else public comment on item number 6 related to Jack, Jenks Adult Activity Center? All right. Thank you guys very much. We will close item number 6 and we will move on to item 7. is Resolution 862 requesting the Indian Nations Council of Governments, and also known as INCOG, to program Tulsa County Urban County Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG funds, for consideration of funding in federal fiscal year 2025 for construction of the Jenks Adult Activity Center.
Motion to approve Resolution 862.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 8, ordinance 1668, an ordinance amending Jenks City Code, base district specific standards and use specific standards and development standards and administration procedures, repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing for severability, declaring an emergency. We're on page 232, and we welcome back Mrs. Hilton. I want to run through them all, and then what did we decide the best strategy was? That was 2 days ago.
2 days ago, we decided, thank you, Mayor and Council, that I will go through and summarize what I'm recommending, and then you all can ask questions if you have any at the end of that, and then we would open it up to the public, and they would have to take tedious notes so that they would know which portion they wanted to ask a question about. So this is, I'll give you a quick history, which I think I do almost every meeting. The city of Jenks adopted their, your and our Horizon Jenks, which was our comprehensive plan in 2020. And the same consulting firm, Halcyon Levine, was hired to follow up and do the Unified Development Ordinance, and that was in 2022. Since that time, we've had a couple of amendments, and tonight I have about 11 that I'm going to recommend. I'm going to say up front, prior to this meeting this evening, the Jenks Aquarium Authority met, and I'll point it out at the appropriate time, but they had a recommendation to you all with some adjusted language, and so we'll talk about that as we go through, but if I forget or something, just remind me. I'm not going to even talk about page 233. I'm going to skip straight into the actual content. And excuse me, my throat is very scratchy. So on page 234 of your packet, this is the first area that we're going to look at for an amendment. And this is table 16-3-1B. And this is called Non-Residential District Bulk and Dimensional Standards. And if you look at the next one, oh great Oz, thank you. It's yeah, that's perfect. You can see some little 5s in parentheses over on under industrial light. So IL stands for industrial light. And I added a footnote, and we'll see it on the next page, because basically what happened, we had a Board of Adjustment case. It's the first time we had one in a while, and they needed a variance. They got down, gentleman was selling their industrial property. Title company says, oh, no, you're not, because you have an encroachment over the build line. We talk about this all the time. We do it through PUD amendments on a regular basis. Someone builds over the build line. Title company says, we're not going to loan you the money on this. And so they have to either do a variance, which proves a hardship, and a lot of times that's hard to do, or we do a PUD amendment. In this case, they were not in a PUD. And our zoning, when we updated the comprehensive plan, we did not allow for the expansion of industrial properties. So what I'm recommending, instead of putting, so when I was going through this Board of Adjustment case, I realized that every property within that industrial park was non-conforming. So every single one of them was going to have the same issue, that if and when they decided to sell, they're going to have to get a clear title, they're going to have to go to the Board of Adjustment, etc. So the other thought is change our code so that that is not a problem for them. So what you'll see is, what Planning Commission saw was what's in the, highlighted in the pink, like a pink marker. And then I had input from Mr. Lou Reynolds of Eller and Dietrich, and he basically took what I sent him and said, hey, I think this says the same thing, you should consider it. And I said, great, I will. So I'm going to ask you to approve setbacks for existing structures shall be those established under the governing zoning code at the time of construction or an approved development plan as applicable. Just basically saying we're not going to make you get it. You don't have to abide by the UDO, whatever it was when you were adopted, because most cases they already were conforming at that time. Okay, page 236, we'll go to the next one. It's section 16-3-3. Recently had someone ask if they could put something on their roof. And I thought, probably. And so I went back and looked in the code and I was like, I mean, there's nothing that doesn't say they can or doesn't say they can't. It wouldn't be a sign, so we're not talking about signage. We're not talking about someone putting a big sign on their roof. I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas, but or to Branson. Both cases, they have things on their roofs, and sometimes it's iconic and cool, and sometimes it's obnoxious, and you think, how in the world did they ever get a big chicken or a big meatball around their store? So in this case, I thought, well, let's go ahead and ask the council and the planning commission, do you think we need some code so that we could move forward if someone wanted something very iconic? Planning commission agreed that it was probably a good idea to adopt some language, but they also thought that they would like to see it before it was technically approved. So that was their recommendation. It's not written in here, but that is, if you approve it tonight as written, it would be with any item on a roof coming back to them, to planning commission for approval. It would not be a staff level approval.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Is this for commercial businesses?
Yes,
then?
sir.
Okay.
Be non-residential.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you were doing Christmas with the Cranks and had Frosty. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. You can put Santa on your roof. I don't care.
Does this include solar panels then?
No, we have a whole section on solar panels. I originally called it art, but then we decided that we should just say structures. It just made sense. So it basically says approved roof-mounted structures could be an exception to the bulk and area dimensional standards. Roof-mounted structures means a structure attached to any portion of the highest roof or fascia of a building. Roof-mounted structures are not signs and may not be used for an off-premise advertising. On or off-premise advertising, roof-mounted structures. Now, I just want to say, that doesn't mean if you sold chicken, you couldn't put a chicken on your roof. See what I'm saying? It's subtle, but I personally would allow it. Just saying. Roof-mounted structures require a conditional use permit, so they'd still have to go through that process, and then as a follow-up, once staff looked at everything, said, yes, you meet all of this criteria, you can move forward to planning commission. So there would be a building inspection, and then it gives height limits, width limits, and illumination limits. And if you go to page, that's all on that one. If you go to page 238, we had eliminated place of assembly altogether. Oh, sorry, that was in parking. Never mind. Councilor Brown, you asked me about that earlier, and I may have not answered your question correctly. So in my interpretation of our zoning code, and I want to be very specific about this, not every planner who comes through your doors are going to read and interpret things the same way that I do. I don't read things and interpret things the same way that other planners did. There is some leeway. I know at times it feels black and white, but there's a little bit of gray in there. So with that being said, I had recommended, and we've had a conversation on more than one occasion, the most recent, and I will be transparent with you. There's an organization wanting to build a food hall type structure on the aquarium campus, and they have at one time said, hey, and on the third floor we would like to do an assembly use. So that could be an event space. An assembly use would be anything from a church, a lodge, like a chapel, a wedding chapel. It could be a Masonic lodge, etc.
Could it be co-working space?
That's
like a base camp where people go and work?
That would be under office, I would think.
Okay.
So assembly is generally you're coming there to assemble. You have, and we had this conversation recently at Planning Commission when someone wanted to do an event/assembly space on Main Street. So it generally means there's not fixed furniture. You can move it around, you can push it out, or you don't have furniture in there at all. It's just a blank slate. You may have tables and chairs because you rent them out for the event, etc. But it generally isn't the same thing as a co-working space. And when it comes to parking, there's completely different requirements. So this is the one where the JAA said, hey, we're not really interested in allowing event spaces or assembly uses, I should say, on the aquarium campus. So they already are allowed to do that in the aquarium because they were built with an event space there. But future uses wouldn't be allowed. So it's just, for me personally, it's no, you can't do that. But for another planner, and there's been cases where people ask for a specific use and they're doing a PUD already, and I generally tell them they have to change the zoning to do that use if that zoning doesn't allow it. So in the Riverfront Tourist Commercial, the RTC, and let me just say, it is not a set area. So if someone bought the property south of In the Raw, it's zoned ag right now, I would recommend to them to rezone to RTC because we have a very specific look and feel and set of uses that we want for that property. And I think in the JAA maybe that I didn't make that clarification. So in the code right now, there is no allowance for a place of assembly in the RTC. So it's just no. Marseille says no. If you come, I say, it's not allowed. So that's why we're here tonight. Do you think it is appropriate in certain circumstances with a planned unit development to allow for an assembly space? So just so you know, that assembly space, someone could make application for a church in the RTC. They could make application for a wedding venue. They could make application for a Masonic lodge. All of these things, anything that we would consider an assembly use would be allowed through that PUD process. The biggest challenge, I think, in my eyes, is not this specific use, it's generally the parking. Because most times, event spaces use parking in the evening. Not always, but most times. Or the weekends. And that's also your heaviest visitation time. So the JAA asked that if this were approved by City Council, that the aquarium campus would be exempted. Is that correct? Was that the motion? Would be excluded from being allowed to have an assembly use. So clear as mud.
So real quick, so this is more like, could this be event space for like one-off galas, not charitable type?
It would still be an assembly use.
That would be included in assembly use, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, not the same if someone, let's say when High Five is up and going and they wanted to have a big gala, that would be a special event and that would just be a one-off. Thank you. So in that case, it would not be, so I kind of answered your question, but then corrected it. So the one-offs are not equal to a space. So if I have an assembly space or an event space, I have someone who coordinates it, and I have an event hostess, and we have, a whole calendar dedicated to people coming and going and having galas every weekend, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. That's the difference.
Thank you.
So I'll keep going. I added roof-mounted structures to page 220. And honestly, in that, it says at the bottom of page 220, roof-mounted structures, you see where it says 16-5-12, and it has ABCD. Yes, sir. I have a tickle. I would need to probably add in that little area a, what is it called? An additional regulation, and that additional regulation would say, must have approval from the Planning Commission. And then otherwise, they would still have to go through the conditional use permit with approval from the Planning Commission. So that would be clarified. And it tells you that those roof-mounted structures could be in any of these locations, but you have to go through all of those processes and steps. I like to say that a C equals yes with regulations, processes. Did you have a question there?
I was just wondering, historically, have we had any other interest in a roof-mounted structure?
Just one request.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty cool, but I'm not gonna divulge what it was. But I was like, yes, of course you can do that. And it was not a pink building. Okay, page 242. We've had some issues with parking screening for parking, and currently in the CS it basically said you have to do X, Y, and Z. You had to have a screening wall, some other things. And we're really struggling, and again, I'm trying to have a code that is something that's user-friendly, but also practical. So the application of the code needs to be practical to the user. I'll give you an example of Jenks Landing. We had a structure go in. First, I think we had Caliber Collision, and we were just about ready to adopt our UDO, so they have way different standards. Then the next building came in, and we had adopted the UDO, but we didn't even, nobody was looking at the site plans, and so I didn't even know we had a building permit. So it was new. We weren't doing it ever before in the history of Jenks. And so these buildings were built with minimal landscaping, no screening, etc. And then and I was like, whoa, we got to start, hey, I need to see the site plan. So then we had these issues where you would have 3 new structures in a row built within a couple of years, and one would have all of this stuff, and then the other one would not. So bottom line is, we need to ramp it up, but in some cases, I just added the word may be required, because I think on Main Street, we have a Chase Bank, and we wanted to make sure that if they build a new structure, we want to make sure it looks really nice, because Main Street is our gateway to the heart of our city, and we want to make sure that that meets the standards and expectations of what we're doing in other areas. So that's what this page is about, some of that screening. And it's the same thing, and it's generally, especially when it's less than 10,000 square feet. So these are structures that are not huge. If they're bigger than that, they're going to have to do all of it. But these are offices and other smaller structures. So kind of give them a little bit of liberty. We weren't allowing them to even have parking in the front. So Chase Bank is like, well, our door's in the front. We're like, this is complicated. So we just gave, you can do it, have your parking in the front, but we want to see some screening there. So that's the sum of that. Okay, page 244. This one got really complicated. Since the UDO was adopted, we didn't have the same language that we had in the old code. Somewhere in the old code it said parking on the grass is prohibited or something like that, or parking has to be on a hard surface. So when code enforcement got a complaint, they would go out and say, you can't park on the grass. Then the language has changed, and it made it really hard to enforce and hard to understand. So I came in and said parking on grass is prohibited within residential districts, and the planning commission's like, whoa, okay. Maybe that's not what we want to adopt. So they changed the language to parking is prohibited in areas of the yard other than the dedicated drive aisles within residential districts and other zoning districts unless otherwise specified by adopted City of Jinx policy. There's always going to be overflow parking that ends up on grass during different times and events and things. For instance, when the aquarium has Boom Fest, people are going to park on the grass. That's not a big deal. Yes, sir?
I just want to, not to elongate this, but we did have a situation where someone was quite clever where they were parked in the grass, but they knew they had to be on a hard surface, so they had like tiny squares of cinder block that all 4 tires were on that, and they claimed they were on a hard surface. So
a hard surface, that's right.
I like the change to this.
Thank you. So even in Old Town, if you have a detached garage, or everybody has a general area where is dedicated for your drive aisle. So that's the gist. Like, sure, maybe if you want to unload your groceries in front of your house, I get it, but please move your car to the drive aisle when you're done. Just saying. So that makes it clearer, more enforceable, without being overly restrictive. Okay, this is the one on page 245 where it says, this was our parking, table 16-6-1, off-street parking requirements. We still had place of worship, and so I just struck that because it's been out of the code in every other place for 2 years, and just cleaning it up. It was a holdover. Okay. On page 246, driveways. So we have a lot of conversations internally about driveways because, for instance, today, someone they have a parking pad and a full driveway, the full width of their garage, and they were asking for another 20 feet into their yard, which would basically be the entire front yard. And I was like, no, it's not a conversation we're going to have. So this one is... We also get requests for circle drives, and the way our code is written right now makes it a little bit complicated to approve, and in most cases not allowed. So instead of putting a lot of language in here, I'm asking for circle or semicircle drives may be approved per adopted engineering standards and adopted City of Jinx policy. So writing some policy that gives us a little bit of leeway without codifying it and having to get a PUD amendment or a variance if you can't meet those requirements. So I don't have that policy written. I'm just asking you all if you would be willing to allow us to write those policies for some flexibility where people previously couldn't do. I'm really struggling to breathe tonight.
Yeah.
Where people haven't been able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. On single slab driveway design standards, this is kind of cleaning it up. Again, it was kind of hard to understand. There is one caveat. It says homes built prior to 1985 may qualify for exceptions on parking pad materials per adopted City of Jinx policy. So this is a case where we have neighborhoods that, and I'll use Old Town, it's not necessarily what I was thinking of when I made that statement, but maybe it doesn't make sense that they have to do they already have a gravel driveway, or they used to have a gravel driveway. It's mostly something else now, but that parking pad could be approved as gravel within certain parameters, and then those parameters would be established. And I can certainly bring the policies back to you all for your stamp of approval when they were written. But tonight I'm just asking that there should be some exceptions for older homes in neighborhoods that do not have HOAs. We want to be able to protect their home values, but also give them some flexibility in what they can and can't do. So the actual policy would come back. Number 3 down there is actually just another clarification, just trying to make it easier to read and understand. We had a very detailed exhibit, if you look on page 248, that showed exactly how a parking pad could look. What we learned is that people just have certain skills for parking, and maybe this maybe this design doesn't work with their skills and they'd rather have a curve instead of an angle. We thought, you know what, does it really matter? Just so it says they can have 400 square feet. You decide if it's curved or angled or whatever. And if we need to write additional standards, we will. But again, trying to be flexible within certain parameters. You cannot pave your entire yard, but we'll give you 400 square feet for that additional parking pad. And that was pretty standard. We're the only city in the area that I could find that even regulates parking pads. Nobody else has anything to say on it. So,
Which is so strange, because it seems like just yesterday, we saw these drawings, talking about the UDO, and I'm sitting there thinking, we're spending a lot of time talking about driveways and parking pads, and here we come full circle a few years later.
Still talking
saying
about
that we don't necessarily care anymore.
And,
Well,
and maybe we care, but maybe not as much as we cared
Yeah.
2 years ago.
I mean, but I think my neighbors have added significant square footage to their parking pad and then put a pergola over it. And I think that little yellow spot to the side of the house is where people want to put their RV and those larger vehicles that are harder to move. So, but it is ironic that I'm sitting here thinking it was just yesterday. We were talking about angles and curves,
And you thought it was,
you've gotten much kinder in your
I know.
planning years. Thank you.
It's amazing.
Here we are.
Well, I've had to tell a lot of people no. And I thought, you know what, maybe it's a UDO problem. Maybe we should just make it a little easier to move forward with some of these things.
And actually, when you talk about this, if we look at most of our planned developments south of the creek, most of the homes are not on arterial streets or collector streets. But if you get into what we like to call Old Town, Main Town, Jenks, what are now arterial streets and collector streets, the driveways go straight out into the street, and it can be dangerous for people trying to back out of a driveway when traffic is coming through at the maximum or over the maximum speed limit. Chief, sorry.
That's so true. On page 249, I will just call this cleanup. I think Miss Linhart and Miss Montgomery and Mr. Ed came to the office and they said, some of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. So I said, let me see what I can do. We went through and I just tried to make it clearer. For instance, I put PUD at the beginning, UDO, so that maybe it was a little bit easier to understand. I added a whole column for public. So P&R means, I think, it's in there somewhere, that you have to basically have a public notice. Public notice required is what it stands for. Same thing on page 251 and 252. And last but not least, on page 253, section 16-9-13, map amendments. Anytime you read that, it doesn't necessarily click that means that it's a zoning request or a rezoning request. So maybe they need to have a PUD or change their zoning from ag to something else or from residential to commercial. But a map amendment is technically a zoning, and that's what it says. So just trying to make it simpler. And that's all I had. I think you may have a couple of comments from the audience, but does anyone have any other thoughts or questions?
Thank you, Marseille. Anyone on my right? There's a lot to digest. Anyone over here?
Sorry.
All right. We can go ahead and close the floor to council.
Could I just have one question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Abel.
With the parking in the assembly space, if it's exclusive to the aquarium, how would we govern or monitor that nobody's parking there and walking over?
That's been a constant ongoing conversation with uses that have come to the city for application to either lease a property, purchase a property. There's some ideas. It's generally, I believe the plat says it's all shared parking, but what we know is the aquarium needs X for themselves. And this is a visual that I think you can keep with you. This is what Kenny says, this is mine. And he doesn't share, this is mine. And so the uses that have come, we've basically said, what's your parking plan? Kind of like we did with the Planning Commission with the the organization that wanted to do an event space. Great, sounds great, don't mind it, but what's your parking plan? And High Five came to us. It's the only one that's gotten this far. And I'll try to get y'all an update by next council meeting to see exactly where they are. They provided, I think, 85 to 90, maybe 90+% of their parking on site. And then they did a shared parking for the balance. And they even did additional parking. The aquarium allowed them to use some of their personal property, but they still built shared parking in that area. And then there was a little bit that they shared. So it was based on a parking study based on their uses. So if you want to do 3 different uses or just 2 different uses, I'm going to look, okay, what does the code say to begin with? What are your hours of operation, which is also what the code asks. So if you had an entirely daytime operation or an entirely nighttime operation, it might simplify your conversation with the aquarium. But if you have a daytime and nighttime, it is going to be a little clunkier conversation with the aquarium and the campus. Did I answer your question? Kind of. Yeah. It kind of is.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. If anyone from the public would like to comment on any of those small tidbits that were just summarized by Mrs. Hilton, you may do so. Good evening, sir.
Keith Montgomery, 10612 South Fir, Jenks. Thanks, Mayor, councilors. While I am on the OAF, I'm a Jenks resident, I'm also a JAA trustee. And just had a comment regarding the UDO approval. Earlier tonight, we did have a JAA meeting and discussed it, this particular issue, and we would ask the city council that the campus, the aquarium campus, be excluded from the RTC change in terms of the place of assembly. We have no problem with the other areas of the RTC because, again, it's multiple areas the RTC covers, and that was one of the issues that came up at the planning commission, that, some of the people that are north of us or south of us may want that ability. And, I thought, yes, we're obviously about development also, and we work with a variety of parties. In fact, in that particular case you mentioned with High Five, we actually allowed High Five to build on some land that the OAF owned to add some additional parking that ends up as part of that shared parking agreement. So it actually worked out fairly well. So, but again, that was earlier tonight, we did have a unanimous resolution to make that recommendation as the JAA.
And that is something you would be recommending that we mention in the
Yeah,
motion?
and I think the actual wording and the best way to show it, I think Marseille certainly can figure out the best path for that.
So, for those of you that weren't there, the goal here is to, and you can correct me, because this is your, you came up with this, is to exclude, and the aquarium campus, we probably should define that. I think we should.
There are ways to define it.
Yeah. We've said it many times,
Yeah.
but the goal is, this is the largest indoor ocean in North America. It's one of 2 places in the world where you can come see a live bull shark, and you should have a parking spot at all costs. The aquarium's been, we're at 23 years now.
Gosh.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
It is the primary draw for people to come to the city of Jenks. And I don't know who it was, whoever said we were a destination city. I'm pretty sure it was because of the aquarium, right? Or maybe just before that. So the school and the aquarium are why people are coming here, and that's the biggest draw we have for people to come from outside. So I would think it's worthwhile to protect that parking. And if you don't think it's worthwhile, you're going to have to tangle with Kenny. And you just don't want to do that.
And as again, we're not opposed to development. We want to see the campus develop.
Yeah.
But I think this allows us to ensure it develops in a way that's appropriate for basically the 3 owners of that area, which is the city, the OAF and the JAA.
And given the potential density of the aquarium with high five, maybe
Future
whatever's
development of some
there,
kind.
they're going to be fighting for parking, and we don't want to put up with that fight. So in this particular case, we can create a little buffer and keep that parking protected. Nothing's there without the aquarium anyway, and nothing succeeds without the aquarium. So I think that High Five has been a great neighbor, even though they're not in the neighborhood yet.
And even the best neighbor, right?
Yeah, and everybody else will have to go along with the good neighbor policy, so.
Well, we'd rather see them there for the draw and the tax revenue too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I think just for this motion, if we exclude the area that is within the aquarium SUP, and I think it is as simple as that, and I don't think it's, from our conversation in the JAA meeting, this isn't a, absolutely not, it's, we want to have a discussion about it and not have there be some sort of use of assembly by right, as it relates to
Yeah, and
potential
in other
parking.
words, what we're saying is just basically leave the rules that are there right now there. We're not saying we need to change the rules for some other reason.
yeah,
Right, thank you.
understood. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery.
That referencing table 16.3-4-C, is that what we're,
What
Yes,
page are
sir.
you on, sir?
I would,
page 238?
in speaking with Teresa, I believe that I would recommend that we withdraw this portion of the request from the motion. Like, if you choose to approve everything else, just say approve per staff recommendation with the exception of table 16-3-4C, place of assembly, and then it can come back or not come back. But right now, it's just, it would be off the table.
We can work on the wording in exact terms to incorporate that request.
You comfortable with that language? Did somebody write that down?
16-3-4C.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Anyone else?
Charlotte Montgomery, 10612 South Fir Avenue. Regarding the place of assembly, actually, I've learned a few things from the Planning Commission of lately, and also Ms. Hilton, because when I first saw this as an agenda item on the Planning Commission, and that this was in RTC, our highest potential area for generating sales tax revenue, and you're putting in square footage that earns zip, and they need usually lots of space. I was like, oh, heck no. I was like, really, she knows, I was like, really, no way, you can't do this. And then what I've noticed in the Planning Commission, what they do now is you want to have some flexibility, as like Ms. Hilton was saying with some of the other things that you're considering. You want to have some flexibility. So the question that they present to me, and I would like for you all to remember this, if you have the same reaction when she comes up with something that she wants to change and you're going, oh, heck no, then is there something that would make it okay? Under what conditions would this be acceptable? And I'm kind of going, well, you can't have it on the first floor. Well, okay, if they could have it above the first floor, would you be okay with that? Well, as long as you take care of the parking issue, and she says, nope, we have rules for that, so I was okay. So I just wanted to let you know that if you ever have that reaction, ask yourself, well, what would make it acceptable? Because I do think we need to have flexibility. So I did learn a few things from the planning commissioners, and I thank them for that. The other thing is I did want to thank Marseille and also Brandon, because I would like to think that I'm above the 8th grade level that's needed to read and understand the UDO. And when we're following the chart of like who hears what, and does it apply to things that are in the UDO or the comprehensive plan, it wasn't really clear how it was worded, and they took time out to meet, and I really appreciated that because that's something that the public, including myself, has really been struggling with is what is the administrative process and where can we get involved? And so I really like the changes how it is, and I really hope you approve that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Ms.
wait, I'm sorry. I had one other thing. I wanted to make sure that on the place of assembly, I saw it in here, it was in the blueprint, that you are saying it's above the ground level. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Evening, sir.
Good evening, Justin Little, 10531 South Koa. I want to talk actually about the structures that go on top of the buildings. Councilor Short, one of the things you always talk about is what is the 100-year plan, or what is the long-term plans? And I appreciate that Vegas and Branson may have a different feeling than Jenks does. I'm not sure that Jenks has that feeling that I believe there are enough guardrails on what could be put on there. I appreciate the Planning Commission did also want it to come to them for approval, not just to staff. But at the end of the day, I think if we are going to do something like that, because we've all seen those when we travel. When they're brand new, they're really nice. Most of the time, they don't age real well. And, 15 years down the road with something on there that's maybe not cared for the way that it's supposed to be cared for, is that really something that we want there? And so I'm not a fan of them to start with, but if we are going to do that, I would think there needs to be more guardrails on there, and at the very least, it needs to come before council. And the reason I say that is I think Ms. Hilton described it as art. Art is always in the eyes of the beholder. And somebody that is more accountable because they have to go through an election may be a little bit more conservative around what their view of art is, that somebody that is appointed on a planning commission that may be trying to do the right thing, but it may be just the trendy thing right now. One of the things, and it's a little silly, but the way my wife and I have styled our house and things like that is we've bought very traditional furniture that was very well made, that will last forever, that we can give to our grandkids. Some people buy very trendy things, the couches, and they change them every 2 or 3 years. At the end of the day, you're going to spend the same amount of money, but it's just who is that, and will one of those things become a trendy thing versus something that would be, we really want to keep that charm of Jenks there, whether it's a meatball, I think is what you talked about, or an octopus or things like that we have on top of some of our buildings. So I would ask you to at least consider, if you are going to, number one, I think there needs to be more guardrails on it before you do approve it. But if you are going to approve it, I would ask that it comes before council as well.
Would it be acceptable to you, because we're not going to work out the guardrails tonight, to just have the second layer of approval through council?
I guess, but the issue I have is there's one in my understanding that is being planned right now.
It's not really, it was a question.
Okay. So, I mean, if your thought process is that none will come until council makes that decision and puts the guardrails there, I think that would be acceptable.
I mean, I don't necessarily mind you giving the council an opportunity to look at it and review it. Because I kind of view it as the planning commission sees it from a technical perspective of, is it safe? Is it anchored? Is it going to blow all over? But I talk to thousands of people, and we are supposedly in touch with what the community wants. So we should have the feel of whether or not does Jenks want to be like this, and maybe Branson wasn't a great.
Or Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah.
Somebody else I can think of.
But I don't think there's a huge appetite to do this anyway, but I do agree.
I don't think there is either.
No, I do agree. I think it's a good idea to bring this to council. And if anybody wants to put an Eiffel Tower on top of the building, well, they're just gonna have to wait an extra 30 days or so.
Right.
And I think that's, did I say the wrong thing? Oh, okay. Well,
She said meatballs.
Well, I think it's reasonable for them to, I don't have a problem with the council getting a look at it.
I would agree.
It's not a bad idea. Can we remember that?
So clarification on that, because again, structures is a very broad term, and I know we're talking about it from a negative context on things that are trendy and have an art type of appeal. But we have had roof-mounted structures. I'm thinking of our development down off of, was it 121st Street, where they were talking about having the Connex container with kind of a bar patio area on top. So there could be a structure associated with that. And if we've got townhomes that want to use the roof level for some type of a gathering area with a partial structure awning. So we probably need some language that says maybe including but not limited to, and those things not identified, then must come to council for
I think we're
approval.
talking commercial structures only.
But we are
Yeah.
talking commercial.
Yeah, we can do that.
Fair enough.
Let's just,
Sounds good.
we'll pause
Thanks, Justin.
and, look at it. But
So
I-
we want to pause this particular
Yeah,
section
we'll pause,
as
but
well?
I agree. I think. Let's take more time and figure it out. All right. Anyone else? Any of these numerous items that are on the agenda? What number are we on?
Good evening.
Item 8.
Hello. Catherine Lenhart, 777 West 106th Street South, Jenks, Oklahoma. I just have a quick question about the Planning Commission. It was hard to hear about the second floor assembly area. I feel like that one of the planning commissioners said, is this available for outside as a second floor? And I didn't catch if second floor assembly was okay in an outdoor venue. And I'll tell you why. Only because, for example, and it's the only example I could think of, it's either some of the Ripken experiences have a dugout where the VIP area is above the bench. And so that would be like for drinking, and they promote it like that. So I was wondering if that kind of second floor assembly, or would that be, what would that fall under? Like
I'd really have to see it and to understand exactly, but it sounds like just a restaurant type use or something like that. So it
Okay.
would be under eating and drinking most likely. It would not be equivalent to an assembly use.
Okay, and then not like a stage or something, that's not considered assembly if it's elevated off a main floor? I'm just clarifying. I want to see if there was other uses. Like he was saying, if it's a rooftop open air versus just a closed assembly place, is that?
It wouldn't matter if it was indoor or outdoor, if it
Okay.
was specified to be used for events on a regular basis, like we built it for the purpose of leasing it out for events or for, et cetera, then it would be.
So on Cherry Street, there's that one building with Hemingway in the bottom, and then the upstairs, the very top floor, it has brick columns, but it's a covered space. And so it's a bar area, so is that
Like sidecar?
I don't know what it's called. Oh, is it like,
A sidecar?
but it's a smaller, it feels
It's
more
just
like
a
just a
bar.
rooftop? Okay, so just would fall under that. Okay, all right, so I was just, thank you. That was it.
So kind of following this, we're coming back to, when we talk about codes, the UDO, you want to plan for 80%, what the norm is, and then leave room for 20% exception, because when we start talking about the details, there's no way tonight, all of us collectively are going to come up with all the possible scenarios. So maybe we need a section, a general section that says, for items that are not specifically identified in any of these sections, we'll treat it as an exception that must come to council. If it's not clearly identified, we treat it as an exception to come to council. Just throwing it out. Gives us a catch-all direction to go for those things that we can't conceive of tonight.
So currently the code says, and if you're talking specifically about uses, if it's not listed, then that falls to the planner to decide what category it falls under. And then it would be, so I would say, that, like we just kind of did that little procedure, it's probably an eating use, et cetera. So currently it is, that authority goes to the planner. So are you asking specifically about roof mounted things and something else, or anything, anytime?
Again, we were talking about assembly, we're talking about, again, roof mounted structures. There's any number of areas in here as we're going
Right.
through the details on this that it could fall outside. And the question becomes, you as a planner now versus, as you said earlier, the definition of that could change with another planner. So do we need to have just a general section that's kind of a catch-all that gives us a direction where we go with that? If there is a, I'm just throwing that out.
I mean, maybe, it's not on tonight's agenda, so we could not do it this evening because it's not listed as, part of the public hearing. But in the future, it could say something in that category that says all uses not listed or at the discretion of the planner, whatever it says. If someone wanted to appeal the planner's decision, then it could come to council. If I tell them, no, it's not allowed in this category, and then they think that it should be allowed in this category, I guess they could.
So that could be one overall, overarching section, a new section, or it could be an extra letter item under each individual section. I mean, there's two ways we can go with that.
Do you want all that?
No, not really. Adds too much to the volume.
I mean, I think this is a good exercise. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a very detailed UDO, and if we come up with novel uses that are not covered under a specific, I think this conversation is a good idea. So to have a catch-all would potentially eliminate that conversation.
Yeah, because
So
we'll
I think,
take Eiffel Towers, but not chickens, and we'll take
well,
chickens.
or
and
there
not
could be
dogs.
novel ideas like we can't think of tonight that come up, and if we have a catch-all, someone might argue that it's inside that catch-all, and I don't have to bring it to council, and we may have a different, city planner 30 years from now, and so
I
to
hope
me,
you
do. I hope we don't. But
I
so I
really
think
do.
I think this is a good exercise to have these conversations. I mean, I know this was an extensive issue tonight because we were trying to catch so many different things. But to me, if there's a novel idea that is not specifically caught in the UDO, that's a good exercise for the council to and the planning commission to have the discussion, the debate.
I like the terminology to a novel concept or novel proposal.
I agree with you both. I think any chance we can get a second set of eyes on something is a good thing. These are, look at the UDO, we're already making changes. It was never perfect. It was designed by imperfect people. There's no way we could know that 400 plus pages of anything was going to be good. And it's like our Constitution, it's amendable, so.
Maybe not perfect, but pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are we?
Make a motion.
Item number 8. So we are, it looks, anyone else in the public like to comment on item number 8? You're just as confused as we are. This is tough. All right, we're back on item number 8. Doesn't look like the public has any additional comments, so we will close the floor to the public. We'll come back, last call for the council. And if there's no questions, we can start to craft a motion. The two items that we previously discussed were removing the aquarium campus from the previous discussion, and in this particular case, we were going to completely pull
Two sections.
2 sections, yeah, and we can discuss those further when we're better prepared to make a better decision, so.
I want to take a stab at this.
Good luck, my friend.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1668 with the exclusion of the aquarium campus. Also excluding section 16.-3 and section, maybe the table 16-3-4C.
Second.
Feel good about that? Okay. We have a proper motion and a second on item 8, ordinance 1668, with noted exclusions. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 9 is the emergency clause for ordinance number 1668.
Make a motion that we accept the emergency clause on ordinance 1668 with the provisions that we just removed.
Second?
Thank you both. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes?
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Abel?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes, item 10 is the Okay, we'll go ahead and pull item 10, save everybody some time this evening. Moving on to other business, city manager's report, Mr. Shrout.
We've had inquiries on Main Street as it relates to new businesses and in the Hive in particular. There was a public meeting held on February 26th where we tried to get the stakeholders that are on Main Street and discuss parking issues. We have a Main Street master plan and a parking plan, and I believe we have new parking signs that are coming.
Yes, sir. Very excited.
To try to direct people to existing public parking. The Hive has come up as a topic of conversation about demolishing the Hive, adding additional parking. We've studied that issue, and there's a potential to add some additional parking, and that's something that staff is continuing to look at. And so hopefully rather quickly we will come to some sort of recommendation to the city council on how to move forward with that. And Elm Street continues, the construction continues to move forward. We've had an issue with one utility that we think there's some sort of misunderstanding on their end that we are working to rectify. Right now, it hasn't slowed the project down, and we don't anticipate that it will, but it is just something on a project of this size and scope. Sometimes these things happen. Otherwise, sales tax continues to be strong. We have of similar sized cities in the Tulsa Metro, the largest increase again for the month of March. I believe we're 27% up over the previous year to date. So things are going well there, and I think that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Shrout. Any questions from council for Chris?
Do we know when we're gonna let bid on the southern half? Is it, having issues with utility company, I understand, but do we have an idea when we're gonna look at opening bids or accepting bids?
I had an email discussion with our design engineer today. He's about done with the plans, but we have some utility relocation that needs to be accomplished, and we're not moving forward again with the project unless we have certification from all the utility companies that they're out of the way. So I'm giving you a non-answer of probably 60 days before we'd be able to go out to bid, maybe.
That's at least something to look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Anyone else?
And then following up on the city manager's report, the fact that we do have, for those following the Hive question, the bids have been received, but we're still in the process of collecting bids to meet the minimum requirements on the number of bids.
Yeah, Mr. Carr, can you update us? You told us earlier in the afternoon we're not getting good responses. Is that correct?
Well, for the demolition, I've contacted 4 different demolition companies, and I've gotten an official response from one. Another one went to look at the location yesterday. I'm waiting for him to respond, but the other 2 are too busy.
And what are our rights to proceed if we don't get responses?
As long as we have tried to solicit from at least 3 companies, then if we don't get 3, then we can move forward with it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. For me, thank you to the county, everybody I mentioned earlier. I thank you guys again. for helping us with the smoldering out there and for the Jenks residents that are suffering. You know, I can't say I appreciate your patience because that's not fair, but know that there's every single person who can possibly help is now is in the fight. So I'm not going to give you a day when the air will be clean again because it's not fair and I don't know, but we appreciate all of your text messages and I appreciate your emails. There's I had dozens of emails today and text messages from people I don't know, so my apologies if not being able to get back to you soon enough, but it's been an extremely hectic 48 hours, but your patience is appreciated if you're willing to give it to us. Thank you. And thank you to Heather and your team for this amazing generation-changing news. This is the biggest financial news, impact news in the city's history ever. So to Chris and Brandon and Marseille and Robert and everybody who's been involved, we've taken a beating on these TIF districts for a number of years. Very complicated. Nobody understands them. Not everybody likes them, but we have no mall without it, and we have no money without it, and we're on our own without the TIF district. So for all of you guys that stuck with us and believed in the process, and thank you for the state of Oklahoma for keeping TIFs as a legitimate source of economic and commercial development. So appreciate all of you. That is all I have. Last call from council.
Mrs. Montgomery has the tips down.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. What does the I stand for?
Increment.
Good job. Everybody else is incentive. It's the wrong mindset.
I sometimes make that mistake.
Yeah, not anymore. It's 8:05 p.m. We are adjourned for the Jenks City Council. If anyone from council would like a quick break, you may have it. If not, we can finish up very quickly with our last piece of business. Okay. Call to order the Jenks Public Works Authority meeting. The time is 8:05 p.m. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Still here.
Short,
Here.
Emmons,
Here.
Ogier, Abel,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
Chairbox.
Here, item number 1 is the consideration of appropriate action relating to tonight's consent agenda. You guys know if you would like to talk about anything, let us know. If not,
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
thank you both. Proper motion second. Item 1, let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes. Yes.
Chairbox. Chairbox.
Yes. Item 2 will pull. Back to you, Mr. Trout. Last call.
You have the reports in your packet. If you have any questions, we would be more than happy to answer them.
And to Nancy, whoever I met, thank you for the gift. Much appreciated. Time is 8:06 p.m. We are adjourned. Oh, we do. Oh, so sorry. I made you sit here all night and then, where does it say that? Oh, I didn't even know there was a backside. Welcome the President of the Chamber, Ms. Angie Dunce. Good evening.
Thank
I will
you.
never do that to you again. May not ever have the opportunity to do that, but thank you
That's
very
okay.
much. Thanks for being here.
Mayor, council, Mr. Manager, thank you for the opportunity. I will make it quick. There is a lot going on, which is very exciting. Just some notable upcoming events. Starting tomorrow, we do have the Jenks City Council Candidate Forum with our business members. This is our regular chamber business lunch that we have monthly, and we have invited all of our candidates to come and answer questions from our businesses. So we're excited about that. We do have a Network Jenks after hours on the 27th, which is Thursday night, which will be at the just Napa Flats is where it's at this time. And then on Friday, we have the legislative luncheon at the ranch. The time for that legislative luncheon has been moved back 30 minutes due to the Human Trafficking Summit, which will be held in the morning at the ranch. So we look forward to our legislative updates from our legislators. A couple other things I want to note. Just one thing in April, outside our regular business, is our Women in Business Conference
And we will have a special guest speaker who is Rena Cook. She is very well known for TED Talks and several other things, so we're really looking forward to that event. Some economic development efforts that have happened over the past month. We have attended the Tulsa Chamber annual meeting and several events and meetings with the Tulsa Chamber and the Tulsa's Future, which is always exciting. There's another one on Thursday, which I will be attending as well. I've met with both Invenergy and PSO regarding the needs for future energy. There are some things we need to look at with development and growth and things like that in our area, and so just some talks with them. Also spoke with the, trying to go down my notes here, the Oklahoma Corporation Commission had a hearing regarding some of those electrical needs and things like that, and so I did speak on behalf of the chamber just about things that will be happening. So also met with several of our other area chambers of commerce in regards to some of the growth and things that are happening. Broken Arrow, their chamber president there started about 2 weeks before I did, so we had a great chance to meet and kind of talk about what's happening in our areas and how we can partner. We did attend the master plan parking meeting here at the town hall. We have had several meetings, phone calls, conversations with Pegasus Group, which is out of Oklahoma City. Some very exciting stuff happening, we hope, and so we just keep those lines of communication open with them. And couple of other new businesses that are looking to locate or are in the process of locating here in Jenks, including the Motorsports Collective. We are talking with them about doing ribbon cutting, groundbreaking, and then ribbon cutting eventually, but that's an exciting concept that's coming. Moving on to our community collaboration. We've had several Network Jenks events. When our last one in February was at City Hall Steakhouse, which was very exciting. A lot of people, I think, were curious to see what it looked like and how it was. We had over 50 business members attend that Network Jenks, so that was a great turnout. Tedford Insurance also hosted one on their balcony. We had a great turnout there as well, and it was fun to actually take our Network Jenks into a business so people could come in and see and get to know what businesses, where they are, things like that. So we're trying to kind of mix it up a little bit and get people into businesses and not just, we love our restaurants and our bars, but we also want people to see what our businesses are up to. So several meetings with other community leaders and lots of fun things. We attended the Pink Stiletto Gallo event, a Galentine's event, met with both the Tulsa Oilers and the Tulsa Drillers and how they can work with us here in Jenks. We're talking about doing a Jenks Day with the Tulsa Drillers, which we would invite all of our community to attend, get discount tickets. We'd possibly extend the invitation to one of our high school students to sing the national anthem. A lot of fun different things we could do with that, as well as some advertising with Discover Jenks. Yes, sir.
If you get that arranged, can you ask them to allow us, and we can figure out who to throw out the first pitch?
Yes, that was also part of the deal, so.
Katie said she was kidding. That would be cool.
I think Katie could do it.
All we got to do is take pictures with the mascot. I'll take pictures. But it'd be cool if we could.
Oh.
Yeah, I like that.
And you'd have to be able to get the ball to the plate for it to be considered. That would be fun.
Absolutely. I will make sure that we ask for that. Even better. That's okay. We're also looking at possibly doing it on a fireworks night. So Discover Jenks would then do some advertising and stuff about our community and maybe get the word out publicly. So some government affairs. The picture was up just a little bit ago. We did have our Jenks Day at the Capitol. We had about 36 attend. We had great turnout from the legislators. We also had our governor, lieutenant governor, speak to our group. It was a great conversation. I think that we had a really beneficial day. We've had the Oklahoma Chamber of Commerce Executives Legislative Update webinar. They went over a lot of the different bills and things that are happening at our state capitol. Of course, we have our legislative lunches with our local representatives and senator. And we also attended the State Chamber Legislative Reception and dinner in Oklahoma City. Let's see, moving on to marketing and tourism. We had just launched our brand new website, which is very, very exciting. We are having a few little kinks with some of our member database information, so we're working on that. It was a minor glitch between the two databases, but this new website does have the ability to link to tourism kiosks. So we are looking into that and what it will take to get those up and running pretty quickly. What those kiosks would do basically is you could go and click where restaurants are, and it would give you a list of the restaurants here in Jenks. So if you're at the aquarium, you go and touch the screen. It'll guide you to shopping and restaurants and all the different things. So that's a really exciting thing that we are adding. Our food truck festival is May 31st. We already have about 50 food trucks signed up, and it's still pretty early, so we're excited about that. Let's see, we've had a collaboration meeting with Jenks Riverwalk. We launched a new fun little thing that we did just as an experiment over spring break, which was Make It a Jenks Break. And so we featured a few of our different businesses here in Jenks, trying to get people that are staying home for spring break to get into the local things that we have here. We are looking to expand that program next year when we have a little more time to plan, more than 5 months of what I've been here. So we'll have a full year this next year. Let's see, we also have a meeting in the next couple of weeks with all of our tourism stakeholders. That would be the businesses that represent tourism here in Jenks. And we will be coming up with a plan for 2025, 2026 on where we'll be advertising and getting the word out on Discover Jenks. We've also relaunched that Facebook page, and so we're really trying to push people there to find out about all the fun things we have going on. In addition to that, we are working on our new edition of Discover Jenks, which is our magazine, our tourism magazine. When it is released this year, it will be going out across the United States in tourism centers, not just here locally, but we are getting it out across the United States to bring people here. We've got a lot to be proud of and a lot we want to bring people in, and so we're excited to create that plan and to get the word out. I've talked a lot here. I think that's pretty much the gist of it. We did have our chamber banquet last month. Great turnout, even though there was a huge snowstorm, but we had about 300 in attendance. So unless you have other questions, that is pretty much what I have right now.
I have one other idea.
Yes.
Adam, when is Sweet Shots? Do we know the grand opening?
They said April, but not a specific date
Well,
that I know of.
I know you have some contacts over there. Would it be possible? Kevin's probably our best golfer. I think the very first golf ball that should be hit ever at that new opening should be that man right there. So if you guys can pull that off, we'll forgive the throwing the first pitch out because I don't think any of us could do that. But I think he should hit the first golf ball.
I think that would make a...
You think you could hit the plate? Yes. Okay, all right, fine. I know he can hit a golf ball. So, Adam, you know Lane. Let's get this man out there. Cut a ribbon. He'll smack a ball downrange, and we'll christen this new place and Kevin bring a bottle of champagne.
I think that sounds like a great idea, and we do have a meeting set here soon with Lane and the manager of Sweet Shots to plan that ribbon cutting, so I'll take that idea as well.
Make it happen, Adam.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Mrs. Dunce? Thank you for the
All right.
very detailed report. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, it's 8:18 p.m. I'd like to say that we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
There's so much for you to sign. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be